Hey friends, how are you doing? Svava Brooks here. I'm back. I'm Svava Brooks and I am abuse survivor coach. So happy to be here with you guys today. Hey friends. Hey friends. Hey friends. How have you been? I was missing in action, wasn't I? Whew, right? Good to be back here with you. How are you doing? Let me see if I can put this back up here without it falling down on me. Hey Nora, hey friend. Think I saw Sue there too. Who else is here? Please say hi. Good to be with you guys. I was a little missing in action last week. Started out with, thank you, and I'm gonna be leaning in. Hey friend, thank you Sue. Missed you too. I think I emailed you, right? Some of you guys that have email, I can let you guys know, but I came down with a terrible sinus infection on Thursday and I was just like, nope, it's not gonna happen. Hey Mel, good to see you. Glad you're here. And yes, in my heart, I felt, the weight of my heart of not being able to show up and do what I said I was gonna do, to be here with you guys. Oh, that's right, I put it in the group, in our Facebook group. Hey sweet, thanks for the flowers and thanks for the hearts. Of course, always love those pretty hearts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But I'm glad to be back, right? Like I said, sinus infection Thursday and Friday. And I was really worried that I was coming down with, some horrible flu. I hear there's all kinds of bugs going around, but I managed. I actually taught through that horrible headache on Thursday night. I had to teach a class and I was a trooper. I did it. And then on Friday, I laid low, managed to get to the hairdresser though. What do you think, guys? I cut like 3 inches of my hair. Thank you. Thank you. It was time. I've been putting off getting a haircut like the longest it's been a long time since I've waited that long in between. So I cut a lot off. So I managed Friday night, show up at the hairdresser's, and I just sat there. And she was like, you're not very chatty today. I'm like, no, I feel like, you know what. But I made it through, felt better after. But yeah, I love it. My hubby, he's so sweet. He was like, honey, you look younger. I'm like, okay, I'll take that. I'll take that. So yes, it looks so much healthier. I should have done it a long time ago. Anyways, enough about me. How are you guys? How's it been? Did you have a fun weekend? I got to do something amazing this weekend. Plus, yeah, I went on a trip to Texas and back, got out of there just before they started getting that ice. And Nora, my amazing Nora that's here, reached out to me and we actually met for coffee. You guys, can you believe it? You're trying to keep warm? Yeah, are you still at work or did they keep you home today? So, good. So isn't that amazing though? Nora heard me talk about here on the scope that I was gonna be in Texas this weekend near her. And she's like, hey, should we meet up for coffee? And we did. It was amazing. So I got to hug her and have a face-to-face and heart-to-heart conversation with her. It was so sweet. So sweet. So cool, exactly. So I'm going to Alaska next month. So anybody here that's in Alaska, I need to look up the town. I'm going there to teach a child sexual abuse training. I'm actually training instructors for Darkness to Light. So anywhere in that neighborhood, who knows, maybe we can meet up for coffee. So that was fantastic, Nora. So good to meet you. So you guys are all doing well, I hear. So then why don't we just dive in, right? So let me just hold up the book for anybody who's new to our chat here, new to our group. We're basically working our way through our Releasing Your Authentic Self. My book that I published is just brand new here in December, almost you can call it in. Hey Lisa, good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And today we are on day 16, right? So you can get the book on Amazon or Kindle if you haven't already, and if you want to follow along, right? But basically what we're doing here is that I am sharing a little bit of the truth of the day, and then there are a couple of questions. So we're going to dig a little deeper, and I love to interact with you guys and your thoughts, insights, whatever may come up for you. And I was thinking today is a little, it's a I don't want to say a hard one, because the hard truths sometimes are the biggest lessons, meaning that like that's the gold. It's like there's so much gift in it once we kind of get past it or understand the depth of it. It's hard for me to say it's hard, but I'm going to say it anyways. But I'm also going to maybe give you guys a little tapping tool tip to help kind of self-regulate or kind of help your nervous system to stay calm. So please pay close attention to how you're feeling as we are here. I know I'm very direct about this conversation. I've talked about this for many, many years, so sometimes this just comes spewing out of my mouth like I'm reporting about the weather, the latest snowstorm, you know what I mean? But there's a couple of reasons why. I have been talking about this for a long time, and I don't carry the shame anymore around the abuse that I suffered as a little girl. The shame is gone. I've gotten to talk about it for so many years that I've given a lot of talks and presentations about child sexual abuse and about healing. And the more I talked about it, the more I realized it's like the freedom that comes from talking about it. Even though I do recognize in the beginning it's very, very hard, because we sometimes feel we're sharing a secret that we're not allowed to tell. But no more carrying other people's secrets. It wasn't my secret, right? But I had to get there. I had to get there. And I also want to model and empower you to get to a place where you can talk about it in a kind of a matter-of-fact way. Recognize this, this is what happened to me. This was the impact of it. Impacted my body, my spirit, my emotional wellness, my mental health. And, this is how it showed up in my life. And now these are the things that I'm taking responsibility for my life. And this is what I'm doing to change it and shift it. So, hey, welcome friends. Thanks for joining us. So that's why I'm, yes, being very direct about it. And sometimes, yes, I can slow down, take a deep breath, calm down a little bit, Svava, right? But I'm wanting you to see, oh, wow, you can actually talk about this and look someone in the eye and have an open heart and feel the compassion while we talk about some things that perhaps were pretty hard or hurt a lot. And I can tell you, having taught child sexual abuse prevention for so many years, it isn't just hard for survivors. When I talk about how to normal people, right, how to prevent it, and we can't prevent it if we don't talk about it, right? So when I talk about, for regular people, how we need to talk about it to prevent it, it makes them uncomfortable. So it isn't just us. So I can't tell you how many times I've stood in front of a room full of people and I can feel the discomfort rise in the room. And I've even had people be upset with me. They're even angry with me. I've had one particular case, I know I'm going off on a tangent. There was a dad in the room, and he was like, I'm angry with you. And I just matched his energy. I'm like, I know. It pissed me off too when I heard the facts about the prevalence and who the people are that we need to be on the lookout for, right? This isn't stranger danger, right? It's the people that we as parents or as caregivers or caring community members, it's the people we know, love, and trust, right? So It makes everybody uncomfortable. So again, why we need to keep talking about it, why we need to make it okay to talk about it, and that when we do talk about it, chances are we're giving permission or information to someone that perhaps has not recognized that they needed to talk about it or can talk about it, and even what words to use to talk about it. All right, off the soapbox. I am on day 16. Can you believe it? Halfway into January already. So my contact lenses are not cooperating today, but I think I can read this. So the truth of the day, when abused children, oh goodness, grow up, they turn that abuse into self-abuse. What does that mean? Hold that thought. I know. Give yourselves a lot of hearts. Thanks for giving me the hearts. Give yourselves a lot of hearts here. This was a big aha for me, like a big burst of light when I recognized this. I'm going to continue here. I want you to know that you can stop abusing yourself at any time, right? That was the second step. First one, I didn't know I was doing it. The second step, how do I stop it, right? You just have to take the first step towards silencing your inner critic. Whew. Inner critic, right? Sometimes under the radar, we don't even hear it anymore. It's so normal. And then another step, and then another step, and then another step, right? Just take the step towards silencing our inner critic. It's almost like a boundary we need to practice in a relationship. Hey friend, thanks for joining. So it's about baby steps. One day, one step, sometimes one thought at a time. Yes, self-harm can definitely fall into this as well. Is to understand what feeds the self-harm, right? So let's dig a little deeper here. The first question, how have you continued to abuse yourself? And the other question we're going to take a look at is, what small steps can you take today to silence the toxic inner critic? So again, like I said, once I realized, long after the abuse had stopped, right? I had moved out of my house, nowhere near the person that hurt me and abused me emotionally, physically, sexually in my whole childhood. I was, a country away. So I thought it was just how I ought to be. Yes, I hear you. Exactly. Actually talked to two people today where that inner critic was the topic of conversation. And it's so prevalent, right? So the big ahas, like I said, when we recognize the abuse had stopped, but we have been so conditioned to thinking that this was our fault, right? That we somehow, like I thought I was responsible for the abuse, that I somehow made the person hurt me, that I was the bad one, that's what we do as children. And that's the important thing to understand around trauma, is that as children, we are resilient and we find a way to survive our environment, whatever it takes, to the point that we will create stories. First of all, your body will disconnect you from the pain. Thank you, body. You help me recover. Stay sane, right, in an unsafe environment. And then as a child, where there's a black and white world, our brain hasn't even connected both sides yet. So it's either or, black or white, bad, good. There's no gray. There's no paradox, right? But we couldn't put the blame on the ones we supposedly loved, so we self-blame. Exactly. We couldn't. Exactly. We couldn't. We didn't even know who was to blame. Like I said, because we were children, and the person we loved and needed care from was perhaps the person hurting us, So if they were sometimes good, and we love our parents, we love our caregivers, we love what, right? At all, no matter what, then we take the blame. We become the one we blame. And then, because if he's sometimes good, like I said, my stepfather wasn't all evil, right? There was things, and that was part of my healing process, was I recognized, wait a minute, there was things about me that he taught me, that I love my, nature and connection to animals. And those are some of the things that he actually introduced me to. And it was very hard to make peace with good things about him, because, those are the good things in me too. Does that mean that I'm like him, right? So that's where, exactly, that is the confusing bit. Exactly. So separating those two and understanding as a little girl, yes, I thought it was my fault. And that's kind of, it keeps us in the hope, right? The hope is, if I change, if I'm better, if I'm perfect enough, right? If I keep working so hard at making everybody happy, right? Then maybe things will change. But then what we develop then is that critical inner voice, who underneath it all creates a belief that it was your fault. You were so bad. You aren't lovable. And then that kind of becomes the filter and the belief, right, that we kind of take into the rest of our lives, right? So the abuse by others stopped, but now I was the one self-harming. And the self-harm can look like, the beings playing a little Miss Perfect. I was so hard on myself. I was never good enough, never pretty enough, never this enough, never whatever enough, right? Never lovable. No, I wasn't going to be the good enough for someone to love or to be with. So it's like that self-harming conversation then was perpetrated by myself, right? And for a long time, like I said, it was so under the radar, I didn't even see it. I didn't even hear it. So, again, give ourselves some kindness here. Some of these things may be hard to realize and may be hard to take a look at. Like I said, when I was kind of floored when I realized, wait a minute, I'm so sorry, my contact lenses are not cooperating with me today. I'm having a hard time reading the little... Can you type that up again, Nora? I think it was you, Nora, who typed that. I think I need to go get another set of glasses and put them on top of my contacts. Things are a little foggy today. But I hope this makes sense. Like I said, it was... like really, oh, it was not you. Okay. Sorry. So sorry today if I call on someone who isn't here or who I'm trying to lean in. It was me. It's Sue, right? So bear with me today. Thanks, guys. See, I don't have to be perfect, and I'm here anyways, right? I know you guys love and adore me, and you're okay with it. We're just gonna roll with it. She can't see 100% today, but she showed up and she's doing her best, right? There you go, guys. This is how we do it. Have to, not take myself too seriously, even though we are talking about a serious topic, but it is important. Thanks for the hearts, guys. It's important that we, learn to have a sense of humor about it too. So then if we think about it, how have you continued to abuse yourself? And if abuse is too big of a word or too intense or feels too weighted or too accusatory or whatever, if that's a tough word for you. But if you think about the ways that you are still in some ways still being really, really hard on yourself. The self-talk, how do you talk to yourself? Actually, that was one of the guys I talked to today. Like I said earlier, I had 2 conversations today about the inner critic. And I gave him an assignment of just do an inventory of what the inner critic says. So I gave him the assignment of just writing out all the things where he does not feel enough, or that he is a loser, or he can't. Okay, that was, I'm gonna block that. Thank you. Is that I gave him that assignment to write down all the ways that he was being so critical on himself. And then we're gonna go through that list together and take a look at it and basically, you know, see where those came from. Where did he take on that self-harm or that negative talking to himself because of what happened to him when he was a kid. And so basically it's a list of lies. But it's important because it can show us where we need to develop more self-acceptance, right? Because ultimately, right, we are learning to accept ourselves, to love ourselves, to have compassion for ourselves and the things that we've been through, right? I'm sorry for that terrible comment, you guys. That's one of the things about periscoping. We can't avoid, sometimes there will be creepers trying to be perfect, self-harming because put anger towards my, yes, exactly. Yeah, I hear you. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that, because that it's like that feeling gets so intense and we're trying to make sense of it, right? It's almost like it's looking for an outlet. And so I mean, I remember acting out in that way. It's almost like going into a trance where I didn't have a choice, that it was like the only way to calm down was to actually go do something that I knew it was actually harmful to me. But it feeds that lie, the false belief that your inner critic wants you to believe, that you are this bad, that you are this awful, that you are this, see, you're this bad. So why don't you just do it? Because, before somebody else does it, right? You're just doing the hurting. So it takes some time to really start to catch yourself in the moment. So any change starts with, first you gain some clarity and awareness around it. And then you start catching yourself in the moment of having that thought, right? And then recognizing, oh, when I have that thought, this is what follows, the behavior that follows. And then we start to catch ourselves, right? And stop ourselves from actually doing the behavior, because we recognize, oh, the reason why I want this behavior, or this, I'm acting out or taking this action, I'm feeling compelled, there is a better, healthier way to address the cause. Right? So let me see if I can see my notes. And so I wrote a list for me. If you guys can relate, I hope you guys will write a list for yourselves. How have you continued this inner critic, this critical voice, or the self-harm? What are some ways that you do self-harm? And then the other question was, well, first I wanted to say, yeah, like for me and continue to be, when I stretch, when I go out of my comfort zone, that always comes up, oh, I'm not good enough to really go after this. Or who do you think you are? Who do you think you are to think that you can do something like that, or you can say something like that? And I can't tell you how often, the thought of doing more videos like this and talk very openly about, my story and what happened to me, and do it very much in my own way, right? As you're seeing and hearing, my inner critic is like, are you sure you want to do this, right? Are you sure you're just gonna mess it up, no one is gonna show up for that. Nobody's interested in what you have to say. So I hear you, make everybody happy, right? That is also one way that we basically spend all our energy on other people. Nothing left for us. And our inner critic is relentless about us. We have to make sure everybody else is taken care of. So what then are the small steps that we can take to silence the toxic inner critic? So, and what I was going to say, for me, when that voice shows up, that part of me who wants to, like, who do you think you are? You don't know anything, right? Then it's like I've built a relationship with this part of me. I've recognized that this part was developed in order to keep me safe, right? It served a purpose. And so now, instead of like being afraid of it or repressing it or wanting to push it away, I'm like, you're here, sweet friend. What's up? You clearly think there's something you need to protect me from, right? I appreciate you're here. You've done this for a long time. But you know what? I'm actually an adult now, and I'm learning to take care of things, take care of myself, take care of my body, learning how to treat myself better. And I'm going after my goals or dreams, or, I know I'm a good person, whatever this inner critic is telling you. And I know you may not think so, but I'm exploring this new way of being. And I appreciate that you keep coming up. I'm kind of pretending that I'm holding my inner critic here in my hand. That you show up because you think I need protection, and that you think that it's your job to make sure that I don't get ahead of myself, right? That I stay small and hidden. But you know what? I think it's time. I'm going to go check this out. I'm going to try on this new thing. I'm glad you're here. But I'm going to put you on the shelf over here. I appreciate you being here, but I'm going to keep going. But thank you for looking out for me. But I'm going to take charge here. I'm the adult here now. And I have found that kind of understanding this inner critic, and often maybe what's the resistance behind it, it's often, just this part of you who's really wanted to keep you safe. Like, this was the mechanism that we developed, learning how to stay safe, right? As dysfunctional and unhelpful it is today, it was perhaps something that worked when we were little. So I validate the inner critic. I hear you, but I'm not a child. I'm going to change or try or explore. And like I said, sometimes I do this with my clients. We kind of dig a little deeper. We explore maybe if there's a feeling underneath it. Why is that you think you need to criticize me so terribly? So doing that, what is the connection to your inner child doing that? So I'm trying to understand your question. So doing that, it doesn't have to be the inner child who is the critic, but it's like a part that we develop to serve a purpose, to protect our inner selves, whether it is our inner child, our wounded little child, or our inner teenager, or we sometimes have multiple ages of children in here. It is a part that steps in to serve a purpose, that has a function kind of within our system of parts. So I hope that makes sense. I hope I understood your question. So write out what the inner critic is saying, and then like I said, what I do with my clients, then we take one thing at a time. Okay, because you haven't been talking about the inner child, so trying to make Okay, because you have been talking about inner child, trying to make the connection. All right, thanks. I'm sorry that I was maybe being confusing on this. But the inner child is the part, right, that will, you know, hold the pain and the sadness and the often the memories. So I'll answer in a minute. We're talking about healing after abuse or trauma. I'm glad you popped in here. So it's often the inner child that will create the story about what happened, right? But the inner critic isn't necessarily your inner child, but it is another part that we develop inside of ourselves, often to keep that inner child like silent, or to keep us from you know, changing or going after the things that we want in life, or keeping the belief that we learned as children and the inner child still holds, that we are bad, that we are somehow ashamed. Yes, exactly. Well, I think there are a few different schools of thought around this, and I'm, like I said, I'm not a psycho, a therapist or psychoanalysis, right? These are some of the things that I've learned for myself and working with other people, that it has helped to, for me, it has helped to integrate and accept the parts by befriending them, like by almost like any relationship. And if this is a part of me, if this somehow, you know, lives inside of me, this voice or this part, right, then doesn't it behoove me to understand it? And it's probably more likely to cooperate, and if I am respectful and like validating it, right? Exactly. Good. I'm maybe planting some new seeds here. So that's what I do with all the parts that come up, and especially our resistance. We could be having the same dialogue about, you know, when we talk about, I want to change something, the first thing that comes up, exactly, the first thing that comes up is that civil war, or is that resistance inside of you. So I often, let's befriend the resistance. The resistance is the part of you that's kept you safe, that has served a purpose, that has fought for you, and it's here for a reason. And like your inner critic, it has held some function, some purpose. And so then starting to recognize, and again, I recognize in the beginning of this, I know I'm talking about kind of overlaying things. And that's why this can take time, addressing one piece at a time. But so what I can suggest you walk away with today is that if you recognize more and more your inner critic and where it shows up, sometimes there's particular situations, like I was sharing with you, anytime I'm going to step out of my comfort zone or do something, you know, public, or speak, right, break the silence, my inner critic used to be really, really hard on me. You can't do that. You're telling the secret. You're not supposed to tell the secret. You're going to get in so much trouble, right? My inner critic would try to stop me and tell me, it's like both my inner critic, I would feel my inner child here too. And so it's trying to protect me, to keep me from getting hurt. So write down all the ways that you know that inner critic keeps showing up in your life. And it's not supposed to become a list of you where you get to go beat yourself up about it, right? No, but it's like an inventory in terms of, oh, we need to take one at a time and kind of take it through a journaling process where we actually take a look at where you got it from. What's the truth about this? It's not the truth, right? You're not bad. It wasn't your fault, right? What happened was XYZ, you know, was abusive. and you were just a child. So in the light of that truth, next time that you hear that critical inner voice, you can say, hey, I know you're trying to protect me from that old truth, but today I know the truth about what happened. And I'm not gonna let the impact of that like inner critical voice put that weight on you again. I'm gonna choose. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for protecting me. But I'm not gonna let you speak that way to me again, right? And then we just slowly, thanks, but no thanks. Thanks, but no thanks. Thanks, but no thanks. Loving but firm. We learn to set boundaries with those parts of ourselves. Because it's when those thoughts and feelings come into our body and our nervous system, right? We are going to take action. We take action on how we feel. Thoughts turns to feelings, then turns to action or behavior. We're not just mindless, right? You can actually choose. Once we catch the thoughts, where did that come from? Instead of just letting it run its course and feel horrible about ourselves, it's like, no, it does not serve me anymore. Does this make sense, guys? I feel like I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but that's okay. I had to hear it over and over and over again and go through kind of the journaling and the assessment of it, one truth at a time. Exactly. Redirecting those thoughts. Exactly. Absolutely. And the key is, to recognize those thoughts. Where did they come from? Do they serve you? Exactly. That's right, Nora. That's right. Being mindful takes time to sink in. Yes, absolutely. It does. And that's where, like I said, the self-compassion is so important. So important. So important that once, like I said, for me, the biggest aha was like, wait a minute. Are you kidding me? What? After all these years of being hurt by others, I'm now the one who is being so crushingly hard on myself. No wonder it's hard to get out of bed sometimes, right? It's like, no, I'm gonna learn to be my own best friend. You got this, girl. It's okay. No, we don't have to be perfect. I know. No, I see you. Thank you, but no, not today. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. Learning how to live our authentic lives and show up. Connect with other people. Talk about meaningful things. Support one another. So important. Any other questions and comments on this one, guys? I know this one, we're gonna go through this one a handful of times through this year. So absolutely. So anybody feel a little here while we were talking about this? Was this hard? You're welcome. It is a big issue. Yes. Good. I'm glad you're seeing or feeling it's making sense. Absolutely. Good. And that's my intention here with you guys, is to help you both, help you to understand that the impact of what happened, understand what betrayal, trauma, and abuse does to us humans, especially when we're hurt by someone we love and trust. It's like the betrayal trauma, right? It's shocking for our biology. It shocks, all, everything about us becomes, like our world is shattered, right? And so when our world is shattered, our nervous system and our biology responds a certain way. So like I said, that's what I keep repeating myself on what happens to your body, and what the stories that we make as a little girl, is that I made as a little girl, you know, that somehow this was my fault. That once I read books later on where, in, you know, psychology books that explained that explained why we do that. Like, it's a survival mechanism. We put our parents up on pedestal. So I self-medicate. I hear you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't catch your name. I'm sorry. My contact lenses are not cooperating with me. I feel like I'm without glasses. I should get a really... Oh, hey Rob. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. I understand. I understand all about self-medicating, about finding a way to kind of self-soothe in a way, to kind of keep the pain manageable, contained a little bit. But the journey is to keep going and keep finding healthier ways to cope, and work with our biology. I mean, that was the kind of the I think the last frontier for myself when my healing journey was when I recognized how much I knew a lot about trauma. I had talked a lot about trauma, and I had felt a lot of my trauma. I was comfortable with feeling my feelings, but still connecting and really being in my body, really being embodied, and listening to my body and understanding my body and honoring my body. That was still hard because my nervous system was so jacked up and tight. Like, I was in such, you know, fight or flight mode all the time, that my body took, you know, a long time. It took me a long time to kind of learn how to kind of down regulate. It's like when you're up in fight or flight or freeze for so long, we have to go through the kind of the emotional upheaval to get down back into self-regulation and balance, right? So yes, the discomfort part is that when we learn to be with our feelings, connect with our body, honor our body as it will let go of the tension that we've held because of the chronic tension, and you know, sometimes the memories are kept in our bodies. So tension and trauma release exercises were very, very powerful and helpful for me, and I've been doing that now for over 3 years, and I love to teach that to my clients. And other helpful tools, tapping is very helpful too. I don't know if any of you are familiar with tapping. You know, there's the meridian points on your... Look up tapping on YouTube. These are all the tapping points. Very, very powerful. And even just they call this the karate chop. Just keep tap, tap, tap. It actually activates your nervous system, so it helps you. Okay. Let's see, I'm sorry that I was in fight or flight. Yes, I hear you. Yes. Good, good. Yes. And that's the hardest part about the healing journey, you guys, is exactly PTSD. The PTSD is your body is in overwhelm, right? I'm sorry to hear that you went through some hard experiences, you know, as a soldier. I know a lot of vets. Actually, you may want to look up TRE for All, because it actually TRE is kind of the best kept secrets in the military, because they teach you to each other. And so tension and trauma release exercises, you can Google that as well. There's lots of YouTube videos about it, where it actually then helps your body. The PTSD is the overwhelm. Your body is stuck in the fight or flight mode and keeps like revving up, and is triggered, you know, from the fight or flight, right? So, but if you do the tension and trauma release, it actually helps your nervous system and your body to let go of, you know, the trauma memory in the body, the biology, the nervous system, you know, residue, if you will. So then the body can relax and let go of it. It's like it takes the full circle. Like what happens to us, and you know, we're stuck in that fight or flight, and if we aren't supported with our body to, you know, go through the whole process, we go into overwhelm, we disconnect from the body. I mean, the body disconnects because of the pain. And then if we're stuck there, if we aren't supported in coming back into the body to let go of the overwhelming tension when you were, you know, betrayed or hurt or whatever you were experiencing, it never comes back into real balance or relaxation again. So it's like teaching the body. And that the tremors that you activate in your nervous system, it's actually something all bodies know how to do. But again, because we are so identified up in our heads, we've disconnected from our bodies, we have forgotten. It's actually is an innate truth, like something all bodies know how to do. We see this in all mammals. If you have dogs, you can see the dogs will shake. Exactly, that's it. If you have dogs, when they get excited, they shake, right? They start to tremor. That's their nervous system releasing the overflow of too much hormones, tension being pushed through their nervous system, and that then helps them to calm back and relax again. That's what TRE does. We teach people how to activate the tremors in the body. Exactly, it's the energy. To activate the tremors, and the tremors basically travels then through your body, knows where you're holding, and then it lets the tremors shake it out. So it actually works with the part of our body that we don't control. So it feels a little, it's better to do with a practitioner in the beginning, because it feels a little weird to all of a sudden your body starts shaking. And when you've been working hard at keeping things in tight and in control, it feels like you're losing control. But it's actually your nervous system doing what it knows how to do, to relax again, to let go of that chronic inner tension and that energy that's been holding and held in there. So really powerful. And maybe I'll do a chat just on that one day. I can talk a lot about TRE. Love, love, love teaching that. So thank you guys. This was great. I appreciate your conversation. Oh, I hear you. I hear you. That can definitely happen. Is that we've like our nervous system is so close, right, to the edge a lot. So any additional stress kind of makes us, you know, emotional or break down, right, a little bit. So learning how to calm down our nervous system so it isn't snowballing, that, you know, we can handle more. We are more present in our body, and we aren't so in the fight or flight or defensive in basically all areas of our lives. Like my husband used to tell me, you should be a defense lawyer, because I had, you know, rebuttal or a line back for anything he used to say. And I was, you know, the ice queen. Don't come near me, don't talk about me, don't tell me what's going on with me, don't tell me anything. I would just, right, the claws would just come out. And what I've learned now is like, no, it's okay. He's just talking. Yeah, it sounds like he's talking about me, but it's not me. I get to decide how that lands over here. I'm going to decide how I'm going to respond in this situation, right? So huge benefit from, you know, learning how to kind of come back to ourselves. And it's like how we take our power back, because our power was taken away from us when we were hurt and we were disconnected from our body. So learning to come back home. So thanks, guys. Thanks for being here today. Good. I'm glad you're feeling the hope. Absolutely. Stay with it. Look it up. Come back here. Ask questions. I try to be here 5 days a week at 4 p.m. Pacific time. I missed that a couple of times this last week. I got sick and I was traveling on Monday. So if I'm not here, no worries. I'll be okay. But life happens, right? Life happens. After, like, we make plans and then life happens, right? But I appreciate you guys being here. Be kind and gentle with yourself. Really be gentle with yourself. And my secret, or not my secret, but the biggest advice or tool that I teach all my clients is to start to put their hands on their hearts. Just start to give yourself a little bit of love and comfort, and learning how to be here for yourself, for your body. Your body's worked so hard for you. It's worked so hard for you. Thank you. I'll take those hugs, and I'm sending those hugs back to you. Love you guys. You guys are courageous, and you're way stronger than you think, and I believe in you. So have a great rest of the day, and I look forward to chatting again tomorrow on what, day 17. Woohoo! Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye now.